Hello everyone, I'm doing my poster presentation on whether or not college athletes should be paid. Before I jump into it, I'm going to give you guys a little background information on scholarships and how they're distributed between programs and how much they're allowed to have between certain sports. So for a sport like football, football players are actually, any football player on an athletic scholarship is actually given a full ride. He's given a 100% ride, does not have to pay for any food, housing, textbooks, anything like that. It's all covered. Now on the other end of the spectrum, like baseball player, there's a team of 35, that's the max roster amount that you can hold, and 11.7 scholarships are supposed to be divided throughout those four classes, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, somewhat evenly. And to be honest, it's not really even at all. Some guys get 25%, which is the minimum. Some guys get 50, some guys 75, and some guys even 100, which is mostly the out-of-state players to cover out-of-state tuition costs. Now for a team like basketball, it's a little different too. I'm not sure the exact amount that a basketball team is allowed to have, but for Georgia Tech, there's a recent investigation going on between Josh Okogie and Todrick, who are our star players here. Josh Pastner's friend was actually giving them, Josh Pastner is actually our head coach here, and his friend was giving them merchandise, apparel, any kind of things they wanted that he could cover. So after the season had ended, Josh and Todrick actually flew out to visit this guy, and he would pay for plane tickets. They lived with him for 4 days. He said he covered $500 of the groceries over 4 days. He bought up to $500 pairs of shoes, $700 pairs of shoes. He would buy them shirts, necklaces. The list went on, and unfortunately, this guy kind of flipped on our coach, Pastner, and threatened to leak the evidence to the NCAA so they would investigate him. And Pastner actually made Josh and Todrick report themselves to compliance, and they had to turn themselves in. And now the investigation is actually going to start this week with the NCAA coming in and seeing and looking what they can find. So for guys like Josh who have a bright future in basketball and Todrick, scholarships might just not be enough for them to stay here. Maybe they need more, and unfortunately, I hope it's never again going to be a situation where the NCAA has to take action to suspend them or eventually remove them from the school if that need be. But guys like Todrick and Josh, they kind of feel the need to get those things because scholarship probably isn't enough for them. And both guys come from a hard upbringing, and they're trying to get money any way they can. And so I'm going to give you guys a little statistics here about the drafts and how many hours people spend, or how many hours athletes spend per week with their sport in season. So baseball usually logs in an average of 42.1 hours per week, and football averages 43 hours per week. With that being said, the NCAA regulation rule for at least baseball is 20 hours per week, and somehow there's got to be a happy median where teams are able to meet that standard and not push guys to limits up to double what the standard is set by the NCAA. So that is strictly just practice and games, 42.1 hours right there. And a place like Georgia Tech, which is pretty challenging academically itself, you're logging in more hours than just that, schoolwork and attending classes. So CBS and Turner Sports actually made a deal in 2011 that went through 2024. They would give the NCAA $5 billion, they actually give them $10.8 billion to cover NCAA March Madness, which is the NCAA basketball playoffs, and it's only 3 weeks. So they're giving the NCAA $10.8 billion to cover 3 weeks of basketball. And that has to be double the amount of NBA playoff basketball paid by televising networks such as CBS, Turner Sports. A lot of guys leave school because they're not receiving money due to situations that they had before they came to school. Scholarships are great. They help a lot creating job opportunities and getting a good degree and making connections right away. So for baseball, you have to be 21 or older to be drafted, or you can be drafted after your junior season. But for a sport like basketball, you're actually allowed to be drafted after your freshman year. So you can be 19 and be drafted, or 18 and be drafted and be gone, and go ahead and be playing with a league of grown men. So the jump is huge if you're ready for it. Usually guys that leave after freshman year are guys that are supposed to be dominant in the NBA right away. So some cons of playing or of paying collegiate athletes are the competition kind of dulls because people are so focused on money. Student athletes start to focus on the money instead of education. They're not going to attend class as much. They're going to start focusing on how they can make more money. So whether that be practicing, lifting, or trying to cut down completely on studying so they can just give all their attention to trying to make that money. And some other problems that would be programs trying to manage money, salaries. That would kind of break team chemistry. Some guys would be jealous of others if they're receiving more than one another. It's also hard because most programs are already at a deficit with spending, so it makes it tough trying to balance that. And also, smaller colleges would become almost irrelevant to powerhouses in the ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12 conferences who just rack in tons of money from donors, sponsorships, or football itself. So my kind of look at it is that you can't go ahead and pay student athletes money. It just wouldn't work out with taxes, and it's not ever going to happen with the rules set by the NCAA. So my happy medium to the situation would be the program or institution setting up a fund for a player that would stay 4 years. If he stays 4 years and plays all 4 years, finishes a degree, that he would be able to receive a fund after he graduates and withdraw that and do whatever he wants with it, whether it be trying to build up a company or trying to invest, trying to find a job, whatever it may be for. But he should have requirements of GPA. He should never be in trouble with NCAA investigations. And more importantly, I think that it would motivate guys to stay in school. That would be a great way to get guys to come back to school and not leave early. So I hope something gets solved here soon with this debate. It's been going on for over a decade now, and needs to come to an end. Hopefully the NCAA can meet terms with programs and figure out how to work out with scholarships maybe, or whether it be with this fund idea. I think it's a great way to solve the issue. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, guys. Take care.